that's what happens for anyone else, but that's not what happened for me. I continue to be depressed to all intents and purposes. What happened instead was that I stopped fighting depression. I slowly began to make peace with it. If the shape of this sadness takes on so much surface area of my life, blogger Jess Chung writes, isn't it also possible to reshape this emotion and let it become food and fuel for where I want to live my life? Instead, I began to pray fully and passionately day and night. After all, I had nothing else to do and nowhere else to turn. When I ran out of words to say, I began to speak in tongues. Speaking in tongues liberated me in ways I cannot even begin to describe. It made my prayers feel genuine and earnest and powerful. It gave a sense of truth and resonance to things I was feeling but could not vocalize. I knew I was saying what I dared to say, even if I did not understand what I was saying. In the same way, the Spirit helps us by our weakness. The book of Romans says, we do not know how to pray as we ought, but the Spirit Himself intercedes for us through wordless groans. I felt in wordless supplication that I was praying honestly for perhaps the first time in my life. Along with tongues and earnest prayer, there was music. My therapist has helped me discover the abundance of music that gift served me well here. I sang long and hard. I sang loudly and lustily. I sang like my life depended on it because it somehow did at this point. And so it was. Connected to God in ways I could neither understand or explain, that I began to feel that my emotions were ending to dry, the congealing was giving way, and my mind was starting to breathe. Something had punctured a tiny hole in the gas chamber, and the gas was beginning to leak. When you seek me in prayer and worship, you will find me available to you. The Hebrew Bible teaches, if you search for me with all your heart. Then one day, in the depths of prayer, I got a message, an intuition deep inside my heart. I needed to talk to someone about what I was going through. I began to think through who I would talk to. Top of my list was my pastor, Sam Adeyemi, whose messages have been invaluable over the years, and who I believe would have an intellectual heft to convince me of whatever it was I needed to be convinced of. Instead, I got an instruction. I call it an instruction because it was as clear as a voice. Go and see Fela Chude. That was strange, so I resisted. Chude is a Nigerian pioneer. He's one of those rare people to whom you can clearly attribute a strength. In this case, motivational speaking. He's also incredibly empathetic and kind. There is a comfort you feel when Fela talks to you. He talks to you. He also listens, and he always has the right word for the moment. I have spoken at his events, supported his projects, and we honor to call him a mentor. But this depression was tied to my professional life, and it was not the person I went to when I had professional problems. Actually, it was his wife, Karen, also a pioneer, that I would typically go to. And a few months before the depression started, I had done just that. So I thought my mind was playing tricks on me. But my friend Francesca said to me, if God said Fela, then follow God's instruction. Go and see him, I will go with him. When I told him I needed to see him urgently, his yes was enthusiastic. Meeting with Fela is one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. At his Lagos home, Chude had all the answers I needed, but the most important one was to my question: what is the purpose of this suffering? If I was suffering for my convictions, I would understand. If I was suffering towards a goal, that would make sense to me. But this is just meaningless suffering. Why has God abandoned you? His answer to that, I don't know. The authenticity floods me. Refusing to pretend to have the answers and instead sitting with me in the dark was a powerful signal of credibility to a person who was just learning to sniff out any BS from the pulpit. I don't know. But then he told me what he did know, that God was going to use this to remake my life in ways I could not even begin to comprehend. That something was about to be transformed in my life so dramatically that I would look back at this depressing episode as the moment my life changed. What you are going through is a valley of the shadow of death. But it is not death. It feels like death. It grips you like death. You experience it as death, but it is not death. It is the valley, it is the shadow of death. It will not kill you, Chude. You just need to pass through it and you'll find that there is life abundant around you. Oh, I'm feeling goosebumps as I say this today. Your life is about to change. Then he got up very excitedly. He went upstairs to his house and he returned with a piece of paper on it. This diagram is from 2017 of a very steep mountain, and he said my career evolution was supposed to have me climb that steep mountain to come out on the other side. But this experience would shorten that trip. It has created a valley at the bottom of the mountain that will make the trip shorter, even if tougher. If I could just power through it, then I promise it will change my life for good. Chude's words were the most prophetic thing anybody has ever said to me. I mean, just look at my life since then. Just look at my life. Who would have thought that experience would lead directly to running a company called Joy and hosting with Chude, the most watched talk show on the continent, a show that will turn people's lives while creating a moat around it, because the purpose of the business is built around my own unique life experience. Who would have thought that that book, that experience would lead to this book, would lead to this memory? I believe Chude immediately, not just because he's the kind of person he says does not lie, but because I felt the presence of God deeply in that place. While in the house, it was like a heavy cloud was lifted from me, like someone opened the windows of a dark room so that the sun would come in for the very first time. That was the moment that the depression finally lifted. I left his house with a spring in my step, and Francesca noticed it as soon as I stepped into the car. It was the first time in many months that I felt any happiness.